This holy instant is salvation come. This holy instant is salvation come. What is the world? What is the world? The world is false perception. It is born of error. Let us not rest content. Let us not rest content until the world has joined our changed perception. Let us not be satisfied until forgiveness has been made complete. Let us not be satisfied until forgiveness has been made complete. And let us not attempt to change our function. We must save the world. We must save the world. For we who made it must behold it through the eyes of Christ, that what was made to die be restored to everlasting life. This holy instant is salvation come. This holy instant is salvation come. Well, thank you all so much for joining me today. Out here sitting beside my holy basil plant. I'm Willie from the Ozarks. I'm so glad you've come to join me today in studying A Course in Miracles. We're reading from the original edition here on lesson 241. This holy instant is salvation come. This holy instant is salvation come. What joy there is today. It is a time of special celebration. For today holds out the instant to the darkened world where its release is set. The day has come when sorrows pass away and pain is gone. The glory of salvation dawns today upon a world set free. This is the time of hope for countless millions. They will be united now as you forgive them all, for I will be forgiven by you today. And the prayer says, under this holy instant is salvation come. We have forgiven one another now, and so we come at last to you again. Father, your Son who never left returns to heaven and his home. How glad are we to have our sanity restored to us, and to remember that we all are one. This holy instant is salvation come. Don't wait another instant. Don't wait for your own happiness. That's what salvation is. It's to invert your perception from the upside down world where you thought sacrifice was necessary, and where pain is real and where death seems certain, to a world where death has no meaning and sacrifice has no meaning and pain does not exist. This holy instant is salvation come. Reminds me out of a Bible verse that Paul said in 2 Corinthians 6:2. It says, behold, now is the acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Paul got it right. He understood. We need to seize the day. Corpus diem. Accept that today is the day for your salvation. Accept God's will for you. Surrender to his joy. And when you surrender to God, you find out you're not surrendering to anything. You're just being yourself. You're being the way God created you, which is what you always wanted. Matter of fact, let's read the associated reading for the next 10 lessons. What is the world? The world is false perception. It is born of error and has not left its source. It will remain no longer than the thought which gave it birth is cherished. When the thought of separation has been changed to one of true forgiveness, will the world be seen in quite another light, and one which leads to truth, where all the world must disappear and all its errors vanish. Now its source has gone, and its effects are gone as well. The world was made as an attack on God. It symbolizes fear. And what is fear except love's absence? What is fear except love's absence? There's only two emotions, and one isn't real, but it can appear real, fear. Love is always real, whether we are bathed in it in our awareness or not. It's still there and present. The world was made as an the world is false perception. It is born of error, and it has not left its source. It will remain no longer than the thought which gave it birth is cherished. When the thought of separation has been changed to one of true forgiveness, will the world be seen in quite another light, and one which leads to truth, where all the world must disappear and all its errors vanish. Now its source has gone, and its effects are gone as well. The world was made as an attack on God. It symbolizes fear. And what is fear except love's absence? Thus the world was meant to be a place where God could enter not, and where His Son could be apart from Him. Here was perception born, for knowledge could not cause such insane thoughts. But eyes deceive and ears hear falsely. Now mistakes become quite possible, for certainty has gone. The mechanisms of illusion have been born instead, and now they go to find what has been given them to seek. Their aim is to fulfill the purpose which the world was made to witness and make real. They see in its illusions but a solid base, where truth exists, upheld apart from lies. Yet everything that they report is but illusion, which is kept apart from truth. As sight was made to lead away from truth, it can be redirected. Sounds become the call of God, and all perception can be given a new purpose by the one whom God appointed Savior to the world. Follow His light and see the world as He beholds it. Hear His voice alone in all that speaks to you, and let Him give you peace and certainty, which you have thrown away, but heaven has preserved for you in Him. Let us not rest content until the world has joined our changed perception. Let us not be satisfied until forgiveness has been made complete. And let us not attempt to change our function. We must save the world. For we who made it must behold it through the eyes of Christ, that what was made to die be restored to everlasting life. And I want to point out on that last paragraph, which finishes that section, What is the World, where he says, let's read it again. Let us not rest content until the world has joined our changed perception. Let us not be satisfied until forgiveness has been made complete. And let us not attempt to change our function. We must save the world. And we save the world by our changing, not by the world having to make any change at all. Just begin to see it through the eyes of Christ, through the forgiven world. And you'll realize that there's a part of everybody that is seated in heavenly places with Christ. And that survives death, and the world's been redeemed when you can see that part of yourself in them. We must save the world, for we who made it must behold it through the eyes of Christ, that what was made to die be restored to everlasting life. And again on the lesson for today, 241, this holy instant is salvation come. Okay, let's go take a look. We'll come back to that before we close. Let's go look at our next section in the text. We're in chapter 25, the remedy, and we're ready for section Roman numeral 8, commuting the sentence. Commuting the sentence. Okay, what on earth is going on today? As you're turning there, let me tell you a couple things. According to Hoyle Day, and you know, Hoyle was the author of the book on parliamentary procedures, Hoyle's Rules. He was a rule maker, and he died on August the 29th in 1769. Chop suey day. What is chop suey? Well, it's a stir-fried, usually in a wok, of vegetables, and that's all I put in mine. But you can throw in eggs and meat, make it true chop suey, I suppose, and then a starchy, thickened sauce. Individual Rights Day, and that commemorates John Locke, who was born on August 29th in 1632, who spoke much of individual rights. International Day Against Nuclear Tests, and the test site called the Polygon in the USSR was officially closed August 29th of 1991. And a lot of people like there not to be any nuclear waste, or it's the waste that we don't know what to do with, so that's why, let's not have it. So anyway. Lemon Juice Day. Let me tell you a little bit about citrus limon. I think that's how you pronounce it. I like the way it sounds anyway. And have you ever heard of the Master Cleanse? You would spend 2 or 3 days, or at least one day, or maybe just a meal or two, and use this Master Cleanse drink. And what it is, it's 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, 2 tablespoons of usually B-grade maple syrup, has more minerals in it, but maple syrup, a half or 1/10 of a teaspoon of cayenne pepper, and then an ounce of water. Mix that together and drink it down, and have that throughout the day when on a cleanse day. Marine Corps Reserve Birthday, which Marine Corps Reserve was started on August 29th, 1916. More Herbs and Less Salt Day, and we'll talk a minute about basil. That's why I'm sitting here. National Sarcoidosis Awareness Day, and I didn't check out what that one was. National Swiss Wine Growers Day. I'm not sitting by some wine grapes, but I have a few grapes here that I picked up. I am sitting in the shade of my grape arbor. I'm down to the last few. I've been eating them. But anyway, these little Concord grapes could make wine, but I like them just the way they are. Chew them up, and I usually spit the seed out. Sometimes I'll eat it. That is your Concord grape is your Vitis labrusca, and it's an American grape, and not a Swiss wine grower's grape. But anyway, you can make wine out of it. National Whiskey Sour Day. I thought we had one of those just a few days ago. Potteries Bottle Oven Day, and that was the last time the Gladstone United Kingdom bottle oven was fired up was on August 29th, 1978. Record Store Day, Touch a Heart Tuesday. We want to be touching a heart every day, but let's do it on Tuesday too. Touch a Heart Tuesday. And Willing to Lend a Hand Tuesday, which we always want to be able to be ready to help as followers of God, don't we? Help those in need. Okay, and then I said I wanted to talk a minute about the holy basil, which in the background you'll see some of my little trellises I make, letting beans or tomatoes grow up them. And anyway, what do we got here? The holy basil. This one I wanted to tell you about is actually, this one here is, I'm pretty sure it's a holy or a sweet basil, which is Ocimum sanctum, is the genus and species. The one I'm going to tell you about today is similar to it. It's an Ocimum basilicum. Basilicum? Basilicum, I guess. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. And it's the Isle of Naxos Basil. And what it says in the Seed Savers Exchange about the Isle of Naxos Basil, a lettuce leaf strain. This tall basil grows 24 to 30 inches and produces a steady crop of large, lush leaves if its flowers are pinched off regularly. So and when you pinch those off, I just come down here with my fingernail and pinch them off. These need to be pinched off, but you go ahead and eat those though. The basil comes from longtime Seed Saver Exchange member and advisor David Cavagnaro, who received it from Jana Muar, who collected the seeds while living on the Greek island of Naxos. It's an annual Isle of Naxos Basil, but it looked pretty similar to the one I have. But you know, pop those off, and these two will now become these two here will now become. It won't grow anymore here, but it'll grow here, which will make it more bushy. So keeping those things pinched off will make it more bushy, and it also keeps it making flower or making leaf instead of flower. And see, I think that's good for today. Let's go back and read our text reading. The commuting the sentence, paragraph 50 in chapter 25. If the Holy Spirit can commute each sentence that you laid upon yourself into a blessing, then it cannot be a sin. Sin is the one thing in all the world that cannot change. It is immutable. And on its changelessness the world depends. The magic of the world can seem to hide the pain of sin from sinners and deceive with glitter and with guile. Yet each one knows the cost of sin is death, and so it is. What you believe is what it doesn't matter whether that's true or not. If you believe it, then it's true for you. And we actually make death. Can you imagine that? We make something that we, in our saner mind, we wouldn't want any part of. For sin is a request for death, a wish to make this world foundation sure as love, dependable as heaven, and as strong as God himself. The world is safe from love to everyone who thinks sin possible, nor will it change. Yet is it possible what God created not should change the attributes of his creation when it opposes it in every way? 51. It cannot be the sinner's wish for death is just as strong as God's will for life. It cannot be the sinner's wish for death is just as strong as is God's will for life, nor can the bases of the world he did not make be firm and sure as heaven. How could it be that hell and heaven are the same? And is it possible that what he did not will cannot be changed? What is immutable besides his will? And what can share his attributes except itself? What wish can rise against his will and be immutable? If you could realize nothing is changeless but the will of God, this course would not be difficult for you. Okay, he's given us a key to unlock the clarity of the Course in Miracles. He says, if you could realize nothing is changeless but the will of God, this course would not be difficult for you. Nothing is changeless but the will of God. Okay, so the changelessness of God's will is the only reality, is what he's saying. If you could realize nothing is changeless but the will of God, this course would not be difficult for you. For it is this that you do not believe, yet there is nothing else you could believe if you but looked at what it really is. Yet there is nothing else you could believe if you but looked at what it really is. 52. Let us go back to what we said before and think of it more carefully. It must be so that either God is mad or is the world a place of madness. Not one thought of his makes any sense at all within this world, and nothing that the world believes as true has any meaning in his mind at all. What makes no sense and has no meaning is insanity, and what is madness cannot be the truth. If one belief so deeply valued here were true, then every thought God ever had is an illusion. And if but one thought of his is true, then all beliefs the world gives any meaning to are false and make no sense at all. This is the choice you make. Do not attempt to see it differently, nor twist it into something it is not. For only this decision can you make. The rest is up to God and not to you. 53. To justify one value that the world upholds is to deny your Father's unity and yours. For God and his beloved Son do not think differently. And it is the agreement of their thought that makes the Son of God with the mind, and it is the agreement of their thought, the Father and the Son. It's the agreement of their thought that makes the Son a co-creator with the mind whose thought created him. And if he chooses to believe one thought opposed to truth, he has decided he is not his Father's Son, because the Son is mad, and sanity must lie apart from both the Father and the Son. This you believe. Think not that this belief depends upon the form it takes. Who thinks the world is sane in any way is justified in anything it thinks, or is maintained by any form of reason, believes this is true. Sin is not real because the Father and the Son are not insane. This world is meaningless because it rests on sin. Who could create the changeless if it does not rest on truth? 54. The Holy Spirit has the power to change the whole foundation of the world you see to something else. A basis not insane on which a sane perception can be based. Another world perceived, and one in which nothing is contradicted that would lead the Son of God to sanity and joy. Nothing attests to death and cruelty, to separation and to differences. For here is everything perceived as one, and no one loses that each one may gain. 55. Test everything that you believe against this one requirement, and understand that everything that meets this one demand is worthy of your faith, but nothing else. And that one requirement, here is everything perceived as one, and no one loses that each one may gain. Do you see everything as one, and that no one loses and everyone gains? Test everything you believe against this one requirement, and understand that everything that meets this one demand is worthy of your faith, but nothing else. What is not love is sin, and either one perceives the other as insane and meaningless. Love is the basis for a world perceived as wholly mad to sinners who believe theirs is the way to sanity. But sin is equally insane within the sight of love, whose gentle lies would look beyond the madness and rest peacefully on truth. Each sees a world immutable, as each defines the changeless and eternal truth of what you are, and each reflects a view of what the Father and the Son must be, to make their viewpoint meaningful and sane. And the last paragraph we'll read today, which will be about in the center of this section, paragraph 56. Your special function is the special form in which the fact that God is not insane appears most sensible and meaningful to you. The content is the same. The form is suited to your special needs and to the special time and place in which you think you find yourself, and where you can be free of place and time, and all that you believe must limit you. The Son of God cannot be bound by time nor place nor anything God did not will. The Son of God cannot be bound by time nor place nor anything God did not will. Yet if his will is seen as madness, then the form of sanity which makes it most acceptable to those who are insane requires special choice. Nor can this choice be made by the insane, whose problem is their choices are not free and made with reason in the light of sense. Okay, so let's just remember your special function is the special form in which the fact that God is not insane appears most sensible and meaningful to you. And be sure to keep in mind that last sentence of paragraph 54, for here is everything perceived as one, and no one loses that each one may gain. That's what we want to see, is our unity and our beneficial unity. Test everything that you believe against this one requirement. Okay, let's go take a look at our lesson for today again. This holy instant is salvation come. What joy there is today! It is a time of special celebration, for today holds out the instant to the darkened world where its release is set. The day has come when sorrows pass away and pain is gone. The glory of salvation dawns today upon a world set free. This is the time of hope for countless millions. They will be united now as you forgive them all, for I will be forgiven by you today. And the prayer under this holy instant is salvation come says, we have forgiven one another now, and so we come at last to you again. Father, your Son who never left returns to heaven and his home. How glad are we to have our sanity restored to us, and to remember that we all are one. Wow, what beautiful song. Or song reading. How much time do we have? I got to get my face right up there in the camera. I'm sorry about that. Funny, isn't it? I've picked a pear. Got my pears are ripening. This holy instant is salvation come. This holy instant is salvation come. What is the world? What is the world? The world is false perception. It is born of error. Let us not rest content. Let us not rest content until the world has joined our changed perception. Let us not be satisfied until forgiveness has been made complete. And let us not attempt to change our function. We must save the world. We must save the world. For we who made it must behold it through the eyes of Christ. That what was made to die be restored to everlasting life. This holy instant is salvation come. 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 And let it come today. And I showed you that pear because I just picked a bunch of pears. It was the first time my little pear tree, one of my pear trees had started producing pears. I got about 2 gallons off of it. A little bitty small tree, about not much taller than me. A little taller than me. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you. Those trellises I use, I try to keep things as natural as I can, and when I'm talking to you, but anyway, those tied, lashed together, little tripods with 5 or 6 or whatever pieces of bamboo do make really nice little trellises, though. I wanted to say one other thing before we close today, and that's that be sure to get you a Course in Miracles if you don't have one. You can pick one up at jcim.net. That's Jesus's Course in Miracles.net. You can buy one from them. If you don't have the money and you absolutely need, and you want a book, you don't have one, I will get you one. As long as I've got the money to buy them, I'll send you a book. And I won't charge you a thing. If you want to pay, you can, but I will make sure you get a book. The easiest way to get one, though, if you're willing to pay, is just get one from jcim.net. If in the meantime, download the app. Be sure to get the one with the little pearls showing on the picture, and it'll be the Course in Miracles app. Okay, this holy instant is salvation come.